But I want to welcome everyone today to a special honorary event for direct support professionals. We are honored to be joined by the Honorable Assemblymember Chris Holden of District 41 in California, who will be presenting our honors today. Without further ado, actually, before I kick it over to Assemblymember Holden, I do want to kick it to our interpreter for just a moment to explain how those of you who might need interpretation in Spanish can access that Spanish channel. Mark.
Thank you, Barry. Muy buenas tardes a todos los que nos acompañan en español. Si desean escuchar el programa, se presentará al vivo en español. Solamente tiene que buscar el icono con el icono de un globo en la parte inferior de su pantalla que dice Interpretation o interpretación. De ahí elija ese botón, puede seleccionar su idioma español y también tendrá la opción de silenciar audio original o mute original audio. Así escuchará solamente la voz del intérprete durante la presentación. Le agradecemos su presencia y esperemos que disfruten del programa. Thank you, Barry.
Thank you so much, Mark. Again, just a quick introduction. This is a special honorary event for direct support professionals. I'm Barry Giardini of the California Disability Services Association. Today's event is brought to you by CDSA, as well as the LA Coalition of Providers and the ARC of California. And again, we are pleased and proud to be honored by Assemblymember Chris Holden, who will be presenting today's event. And without further ado, Assemblymember Holden, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Barry. I really do appreciate, first of all, our having the opportunity to come together in this format. Clearly, the COVID-19 pandemic has forced us into a new technology world where Zoom is having multiple benefits. And so I appreciate all who are on this webinar, and certainly those who have weathered through this process for so many years as we've gone through the legislative process of trying to find resources to support you in a variety of ways. And, you know, let me just be very clear. When you're in this legislative role, it takes a village, it takes a team. And I just wanted to lead off by thanking Barry and others for your conscientious support and being there for us. But I wanted to also recognize my staff who put in a lot of hours and were very much front and center to keep you aware and alert to how the ebb and flows of our budget discussions were going, how our bill ideas and resolutions were faring, what we were hearing in real time around support and success that was building around our efforts. And so I want to thank Elle Hawksworth, who was providing lead on this particular area. But Naima, who's our Ledge Director, who did fabulous work in this space as well. I just want to thank them for the many years of continuous effort of just hammering away. And so it all makes a difference, and with us all working together. While so much has happened over the past 18 months, it's important to not lose sight of the fact that every one of you listening today, you have been working tirelessly for far longer in service to others, overcoming a manner of obstacles put in front of you so that others can have a chance to live a good life is nothing new to you. It's just what you do. It's just who you are. I've had the opportunity to meet many of you both at the Capitol and in my district. I've always admired your dedication to your profession. When I became a member of the Assembly, I came to better understand just how much you do to help California meet its commitments to our residents with intellectual and developmental disabilities. But I also learned how far our state has fallen behind in providing the resources you need and the wages that you deserve that are commensurate with the work that you do. I have joined with your advocates and others in the legislature to shine a light on your contributions and to fight for the funding you need and the funding you deserve. Over the past 5 years, we've held rallies, we've introduced bills, and we've pushed budget requests that gained unprecedented legislative support, but often because severely pared back or lost out entirely in the final budget battle. But we were undeterred. We were inspired by your courage and dedication. We keep coming back, fighting for what we believe in, just like you do every day. When the pandemic took hold last year, I began to hear stories of hardship that people with disabilities and their support teams were facing. I remember hearing of direct support staff quarantining with the people they support instead of their own families, of support workers trying to find PPE for themselves and the people they were supporting. So many of you going so far above and beyond your job description and work schedules, just doing whatever needed to be done to keep people safe and healthy. So we needed to redouble our efforts to return to you the same kind of respect that you gave to the people you serve. With that notion, I introduced Assembly Concurrent Resolution 41, which quite frankly, I was by coincidence, but it lines up with my Assembly District 41. To build a consensus in the legislature that your courage and commitment is recognized and valued by your state's lawmakers. But it's hard to pay your rent with a resolution. So we also introduced major budget requests aimed at getting your wages up. In this effort, we're fortunate to have great support from leadership in both the Assembly and the Senate. And as you know, we finally achieved a historic budget agreement that will begin to bring you the kind of relief that we have fought so long and hard for. We know that we must continue to work, but today it is all about you. We appreciate the great work that you do, the sacrifice you have made to keep those with disabilities safe and healthy during this pandemic and beyond. And so I'm very proud of all of you. I appreciate all the great work that you do, your commitment and your steadfastness to the people that you serve in this great state. And so again, I say thank you, and we love you, and we're here for you, and onward and upward. Howard, would you like to begin?
Okay, thank you, Assemblyman Holden. Thank you for your wonderful remarks. And I will tell you my story. I am an advocate for Easter Seals, and I do advocacy work for Easter Seals. I teach an advocacy class every Friday from 10 to 11. And I used to be able to walk, but in 2019, I began to be stricken by an autoimmune disease that attacked my legs, and I am sorry to tell you that I can now no longer walk. I am now confined to a wheelchair, and I now need a great deal more support than I used to. Before I was independent, I could walk, I needed only limited support, but now that I am in a wheelchair and I'm able to walk, I need a great deal more support than I used to. I now need 24/7. I now need 24/7 support around the clock. I need help getting out of bed, getting dressed, and I can move around only with a wheelchair. And my direct support people from the agency, the Homestead, and Momentum formerly UCP, they now have to help me around the clock. They have to help me do some of the most basic and essential things. And without them, I simply could not function. I could not continue to do the work that I am doing. And I owe them an immeasurable debt of gratitude for supporting me. I also was fortunate enough to make it into self-determination. I made it past the lottery in 2018. I became one of the first 2,500 people to enter self-determination. And thank God that I made it into self-determination, because if I had not made it into self-determination, I would not be able to pay for the support that I need. Self-determination is paying for all of this. And if it were not for that, I would be in a nursing home, most likely, instead of being able to continue my advocacy work and fighting for disability rights. I participated in the election in 2018 and 2020. I was part of a We Are the 25 movement that helped get Democrats into power and elect Biden. And You know, I could not have done any of that without the support staff that I now enjoy. I know how fortunate I am, and I am deeply, deeply grateful for all the direct support professionals who are helping me to continue to do the work that I need to do and help me live an independent life. Thank all of you, and thank you, Assemblymember Holden, for fighting for us. Thank you, sir.
Thank
That
you,
means
sir.
a great deal to us and to me.
My pleasure, Howard. If I could, I know that there's a program that we're going to continue here. I'm being asked to get back onto the floor, so and that was asked in a nice way. I think the next time won't be as nice, but blessings to everyone. If I can, I'll try to jump back on, but for now, just know that we'll keep working for you, working hard. And Jim Frazier and a lot of my colleagues who have been in the trenches on this too, I want to give acknowledgement as well. So, Barry, I guess I can turn it to you, and I'll look to come back on if I can.
Thank you so much, Assemblymember Holden, for everything you've done for us and for joining us today. Much appreciated.
Hello?
Next, we're going to have Bonnie Shire share her story about what her DSP has meant to her during the pandemic. Thank you, Bonnie.
Hi, great to be here. Thank you guys very much. I've been a client of East Bay Innovation since 2015. And the biggest way that COVID pandemic affected me was that I was due to fly home to be with my sons who live in Atlanta, Georgia. I was unable to do that. Another way COVID affected my daily living was that our church services were no longer maintaining in service. We went online for that as well, Bible study, fellow worship, and all of that.
Hello?
So that, in a way, that was a blessing because we've all gotten to learn to use different tools and a different way and a different means to communicate, which in a way that was good. I did, however, get very, very sick. Last December, I came down with COVID pneumonia.
Better?
And I have to say my support staff, Sarah over here, was instrumental in my health, in my recovery. I was brought to the ER 3 separate times by ambulance. If it wasn't for Sarah and the support that I received from East Bay Innovations, I may not have come through this as well as I have. I had support of my son's family and friends, but I'd like to give Sarah a big shout out and a thank you that I love you, girl. She talked me into going to the emergency room when I fought with her tooth and nail and told her I'm fine. When I couldn't breathe, I couldn't talk. I was literally on death's door for about 3 weeks. Sarah brought PPE equipment, food, medicine, dropped it off at my door while climbing up a very steep staircase, 15 steps up and down doing this. We were in constant contact via text messages, via phone, email, whatever it took to keep me going every single day. Pulse ox on my finger, talking with the doctors, my COVID team of doctors. I was never alone. I didn't do this alone. My faith in Christ and in God were with me. But I have to say, God is the one who led me to EBI. And I'm so very grateful and fortunate for that. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Bonnie, thank you so much for sharing your story and being with us today. That was really powerful. Monique Cook, would you like to share your thoughts?
Yeah. Hi, my name is Monique Cook, and I'm with STEP, and I am with SLS, and I've been with SLSs for ever since I was 18, and the pandemic has been a lot. It's been very stressful for a lot of people. So Jackie's going to ask me some questions because I'm kind of nervous, so I don't want to.
Well, Monique, we were talking earlier today when the first thing you heard were COVID and you had to stay home. What was the first feeling you had?
I was probably pretty stunned.
Pretty stunned.
I think I was more shocked and nervous because it was I didn't really know what was going to happen. So it was like I didn't know. So it's kind of like I wasn't know if I was going to die from it or if I was going to stay alive from it, because it was a lot going on and a lot of people around me that I knew was sick or they were dying or they knew somebody that had died. So I think that that was my biggest dilemma was I going to be next? So I just stayed at home.
And what did you tell me when you're stressed, what do you do?
I do art, like I do arts and crafts and stuff like that. But my major thing was I was worried about the other people that was around me, like the staff, like what were they doing? Because they still had to like go out in the community, like for me, like for my food, for my clothes, for my shoes, for whatever I needed. So I started to make masks because I didn't know what else to do. So because a lot of the people that I was talking to, they couldn't find them. Like they couldn't find no masks, like at the store, nowhere. So I thought, I have a sewing machine, I have a little bit of fabric, I have all this stuff, so let me try to make them. So somebody told me, they said, well, here, try to make one. And then you try to, so I made that one. It was okay, the first one. And then I said, well, maybe I can make it better. So then next thing I know, I made like 80. And then I just start giving them out to staff, to friends, to family, to everybody, because I felt like if one person can do this, then just me, then what can a bunch of people do? So then I started telling my friends with sewing machines, you make 5. And then the next person with their friend with their sewing machine, they make 5. And then we could just help a bunch of people at the hospital, their friends. So then we all just started making them. And then there it was.
Well, we talked a lot about how the direct support were the ones that had to go out and they had to go grocery shopping and bring home the medication. And so
Yeah.
Monique had said she was so afraid that a direct support professional would get COVID and get sick or potentially die.
Yeah, because they had their families. Like, I mean, they were helping me and they were helping my friends, but what if they had to go and what if they died because they didn't have a mask? Because a lot of times, a lot of the staff that I knew, they said, oh my God, I can't find a mask. They would go to the store, they would just want to try to find one, but there wasn't one out there. So I just decided I have a sewing machine, I have a little bit of fabric, so let me try to see what I can do. And so I started with one, and the next thing I know, I made 80. And then I was like, and then it just kept going. And so now when they ask me to make one, I just make them one.
Well, I think we had a conversation that with COVID-19, what we learned is that we're all in this together,
Yeah.
that all of us needed one another, and the direct support professionals really benefited from your mask, but you benefited from
Them helping me to get groceries, helping me to get things that I needed, and just them talking to me, like even on the phone, like even if they just talk like for 5 minutes, because I have a low immune system. So I'm not even supposed to even go out there to go grocery shopping or anything like that. So for them to go grocery shopping for me meant more to me, I think, than anything.
Thank
we
you so much.
did a lot of talking. So thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing your story, Monique. Maybe I'll get a mask from you one day. That's amazing. Now we have a couple of direct support professionals themselves to tell a little bit of the story of what it's been like serving as a DSP during this public health emergency. And the first one up is Robert Elm. Robert, if you would like to join us and share your thoughts, please.
Hi, everybody. This is really kind of like an emotional thing for me. I survived COVID. I didn't have a very hard case of it, but I did have several symptoms that they even continue today. I wake up every day exhausted. For 30 minutes at a time when I had COVID, I had bouts where I would forget how to read. It was horrifying. I mean, like I've been able to read since first grade. So I'm glad that at least that's back. So that was a very personal impact on my life. But even more than that was just like working with my participants. A lot of them were set apart, were split off from all of their friends from program for months and months and months. And sorry, excuse me, genuinely, that probably hit them harder than my experience with having COVID. So I'd say that was probably one of the biggest impacts that myself and my participants went through. Most of them just, I have one lady that I work with, and she was unable to see her friends who she was incredibly close with for 3 months. And living with that and knowing how close she was with her friends, I can't even express like how emotional that was for her. And I think that's probably the biggest problem, the biggest difficulty that we've had since COVID started. It's the connection that we have with people has been damaged. And, you know, thank all the techies and God and, you know, whatever forces brought this kind of technology into our lives, because I don't know how many of us could stay sane. That has probably been the biggest challenge for me as a DSP, is trying to help my participants stay sane. We used to go out to the museums like once or twice a week. We would go to parks, we would go to video arcades, we would go all over the place. We're in a community-based program. And that all changed overnight. Overnight, it just completely changed. And it's been very difficult. We've been coming back a little bit, you know, since the first wave stopped, but now with Delta variant, everybody's getting worried that we're going to be going back to that that separation again. I mean, it'll be easier this time. Thankfully, we have the tools to deal with it more than we did when this first started. The computer technology, everybody has each other's phone numbers when they didn't before. It's been very difficult to stay in contact with one another. Oh man, the things that kept me motivated is, you know, when I started working as a DSP 16 years ago, I decided that making contact with people is what, you know, is what this is all about. And, you know, it's less like a job than more like playing translator. Like most of the people that I've worked with, they just don't know how to express some of the things that they want or need, like a lot of people who are normally abled. So I usually just translate for other people what they need and what it seems that they want. We talk a lot, and that helps me to help them. So it creates a bond with my participants, and that's my motivating factor. It's like most of the people that I work with are friends in a very special way. And I've always found it important to, you know, just help my friends. So besides money and all that, it's all about helping each other and connecting.
That's such a beautiful sentiment, Robert. Thank you so much. Your commitment is amazing. Really appreciate you being here today and sharing your thoughts, and for all the great work you've done, and grateful for you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sarah Moreno, if you would like to join and share your thoughts as well, please.
Sure. So I support Bonnie. You know, I think the biggest impact that it had on clients, again, was definitely the social aspect. You know, in Bonnie's case, when she tested positive for COVID, everything went to drop off supports, as she mentioned, or phone supports when she felt up to it. I mean, there were days where I'd call her and we would just talk for a few minutes just to see how she was doing. You know, other days we would be able to talk for longer. I also felt bad keeping her on the phone because she was coughing quite a bit. But as she got better, you know, we were able to do phone calls through like Google Meets and those types of platforms. You know, the changes to the typical job duties, again, you know, not being able to see her in person for about 2.5 months was really hard. I've supported her on and off for several years, and, you know, knowing that she was gravely ill and not being able to support her in person or be there with her was really difficult. And then I think what kept me motivated really was making sure that she had what she needed, you know, whether that was food or medication, you know, being available by phone for her. As she had mentioned, there were, you know, a couple times where, based on the symptoms that she was telling me she was experiencing, you know, and reaching out to my supervisor, we thought that the best thing for her to do would be to go to the hospital. And so trying to help Bonnie to see that, even though I know that, you know, she was completely exhausted and didn't want to be anywhere but her own home. You know, and with some of her pre-existing medical conditions, you know, that made it even scarier for me with regards to her, because I, you know, she was really sick, but I'm glad that she made it through. And, you know, even after, when I was able to see her, we were going to doctor's appointments. You know, she really still didn't have a lot of energy, and even small things, you know, like taking a shower and getting ready would just exhaust her. So there was a lot of helping out with groceries, going to the store for her, you know, being on the phone with her while I was at the store to make sure that I got exactly what she wanted. So thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Sarah and Bonnie, thank you so much. Your bond is so evident, and it's so wonderful to see. Thank you for sharing your story, and for being there for each other. It's what this is all about. I would like to welcome Howard back to the presentation here. He's going to read an excerpt from ACR 41, so that everyone on this call can hear what how you were recognized by the state legislature this year, and of course through Assemblymember Holden. So Howard, if you'd like to come back on the screen and read the resolution excerpts, that would be wonderful.
Okay, am I on?
You're on, Howard. It's all yours.
Can you put the resolution on the screen?
We sure will.
Okay. This is the Legislative Council Digest. That measure will recognize the skills and dedication of direct support professional and show appreciation for the direct support professional who have faithfully served California with intellectual and developmental disabilities during the COVID-19 public health crisis. Bill text, whereas the COVID-19 pandemic and resulting stay-at-home orders and other safety measures began 1 year ago, and where March it recognized nationwide as Developmental Disabilities Awareness Month, and where more than 350,000 Californians with intellectual and developmental disabilities receive resource center services, and where the COVID-19 pandemic has a disproportionate impact on people with IDD who are especially vulnerable to complications and mortality due to the coronavirus, and whereas during this pandemic, direct support professionals throughout the state prioritize the health and safety of people with IDD, often placing the needs of people in their care over their own personal interest, and whereas direct support professionals show flexibility, consistently responding to changing public health conditions and state guidelines for health and safety, while also addressing the changing needs of the people they serve, and whereas direct support professionals were guided by person-centered philosophy to meet the support needs of people with IDD during a historic pandemic that changed every aspect of their life, and whereas direct support professionals demonstrated innovation, creating a new program and safety support an individual with IDD during the pandemic and mitigate the isolating impact of health and safety measures. Now, therefore, be it, scroll up, please. Be it resolved that the legislature, having acknowledged the rights of Californians with IDD and the state responsibility to them through the Lanterman Developmental Disability Services Act, find that direct support professionals are essential to carrying out that responsibility, and be it further resolved that the legislature recognizes the skill and dedication of direct support professionals, and be it further resolved that the legislature appreciate all direct support professionals to have faithfully served California with IDD during the COVID-19 public health crisis, and be it further resolved that the Chief Clerk of the Assembly transmit a copy of this resolution to be offered for appropriate distribution. Thank you very much. And I also want to say that the loss of my mobility occurred at the same time as the pandemic hit, so I was hit with a double whammy. Not only was I isolated like everyone else, but I was being reduced from walking to being in a wheelchair. And both of these happened at the same time, both the pandemic and the loss of my mobility. That was very hard on me, and without the direct support professional that took care of me during this very difficult period, I could not have survived.
Howard,
And thank you, Assemblymember Holden.
That's a perfect anecdote to close on there, Howard. I'm so sorry about your struggles, but I'm so glad that you've received the support from your direct support professional that you needed to help you through this time. I want to thank everyone for joining us today. Things have been a little crazy, of course. Assemblymember Holden coming off the floor, joining us for a limited amount of time. I want to thank both Assemblymember Holden and all our champions in the legislature who have supported the IDD community. But today is really not about them. It's about you DSPs throughout the state of California. Through the last 18 months, you've persevered, you've innovated, you've cared, you've sacrificed, and ultimately you've demonstrated your commitment, professionalism to the people that you support and the work that you do. It's invaluable. The state of California thanks you and recognizes you today. We thank you and recognize you. Please know how important you are, how important the work that you do is to those you care for, and know that we will continue fighting for you to make sure that you are recognized as the professionals that you are. Thank you all for joining us today. We really appreciate it, and we hope to hear from y'all soon. Thanks so much.